Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. Going to talk about the 1986 film Aliens in its special edition. As I said in a recent podcast about The Princess Bride, there are very few perfect movies. Aliens is pretty perfect. And the special edition version, the version that director and writer James Cameron prefers, is also the one I prefer. It's got some scenes in there that were always in the book. I, at this point in time, was reading book adaptations and original novels that movies were based on before I'd see the movie, because I always thought the books were better, and to this day I still have that opinion. But I don't read as many books as I used to. On an $18.5 million budget, and went on to gross over $180 million in the 80s, becoming one of the biggest films of the year, it is also considered one of the greatest films of all time, one of the best science fiction films of all time, one of the best action films of all time, one of the best sequels ever made, equal to or better than the original Alien. That was thought of as impossible back then. Up to then, only movies like Empire Strikes Back and Godfather 2 had even come close. Aliens now joins that list. Haven't watched the movie in years with all of the talk about Alien Romulus and how much I enjoyed that in the theater, and I had recently rewatched Alien, the first in 4K, and still love that movie to death. Aliens is a whole different animal. So I pulled out my quadrilogy Alien box set I've had for quite some time on Blu-ray and watched the special edition of Aliens, which I hadn't watched in a long time, if ever, on Blu-ray. I usually stick to the theatrical version on this film a lot. But the special edition this time around was perfect. They added scenes, not only add to, well, we see Newt first. We see what the people are actually doing on the planet. You see a little bit more with Sigourney Weaver's character. It just makes more sense, this version. It's only a little bit longer, but much better version. Movie really has no flaws. The pacing is incredible. The acting is great. The visual effects hold up to this day. For a movie made in 1985, 1986, it's amazing that the special effects hold up as well as they do. A lot of practical effects, a few screen things, green screen at the time. It wasn't blue screen back then. Or blue screen back then. It wasn't green screen like we have now. Anyway, long story short, this movie made over 10 times its budget in the theatrical box office. So, of course, that's why we got Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Covenant, and Alien Romulus to this day. Honestly, after watching Alien Romulus and rewatching Alien and Aliens, that's how I'm going to watch them forevermore. Watch Alien first, watch Alien Romulus second, and watch James Cameron's Aliens third, because not only do they make a perfect trilogy, they also ramp up the action. They go from pretty much a straight-up horror movie to a horror movie / action movie to a straight-up action movie. In those three films, I think Fede Alvarez did the impossible, making another Aliens movie that was really good. Not perfect, but none of them have been, except for the first two. This is a fantastic movie from top to bottom. Sigourney Weaver gets to do amazing things. All of the side characters. There's so many side characters in this. I saw a picture online over the weekend that had some of the side cast and all their names and what they look like now, and they're all holding guns. They all look in great shape. They all look fantastic, but a lot of them look a whole lot different because this was a long time ago, and it was a whole lot different. It's a large cast of people. They all get to shine a little bit. It's not just like they're all fodder for the aliens. You actually get to know these characters a little bit through a line here, through an action there. It expands on the whole mythology of the first movie. It's a perfect sequel. It's a perfect action movie, and it leans in a little bit of that horror direction with some of that haunted house element from the first movie making it into it. And like I said at the beginning, the added scenes that were excised to make the movie shorter were actually very integral to the story and preferred by James Cameron and preferred by me. I would watch the special edition every time from now on. It just makes more sense. It just flows better. Not that the theatrical version didn't flow, obviously. It stood the test of time and become one of the biggest successes of all time as far as sequels go with science fiction movies and that kind of stuff. There's probably one or two of you wondering why I'm not reviewing the 4K. I haven't picked it up yet. I think Fox, and this was kind of at the end of the transition with the Fox and Disney, and Sony's going to distribute stuff now. And we're lucky we even got these movies that they released, The Abyss, Aliens, and True Lies this year in 4K. I think it's wonderful that they did, regardless of how some people really don't like the transfers. Too much AI was used, too much smoothing, whatever. I will eventually pick them up. My mantra has been, if I'm going to spend money on something, I'm going to get the limited edition or the special edition first. And these were all just standard 4Ks. There was nothing special about them. They might have slipcovers, but no steel books, no grander special editions. They basically collect the old extras, and you get new 4K transfers and some Dolby Atmos. Okay. But I don't need to pay $25 to $35 for those. I guarantee you around Black Friday, those are going to be about $10 to $15. And maybe then. So I'm not weighing in on the whole the new 4K transfers or any of that stuff. I'm just talking about the movie in this one. The Blu-ray looks fine, but there were some obvious scenes with higher grain. Obviously scenes that were shot either with not enough light, maybe got some after tinkering after the scenes were shot to make them a little brighter. I don't know. But there were a handful of scenes in the special edition on Blu-ray that you could tell it was a lot grainier. Other scenes looked incredibly clean. I'm watching basically a Blu-ray through, a Blu-ray 4K player upgraded to 4K, no HDR or anything, and it looked great. It looked like an old movie. It looked fine. I do want to check out the 4Ks, but that was my reasoning for not having them yet. It's just I don't need to spend a lot of money on something that's not limited in any way. They'll be around forever until maybe we do get a better special edition or the original versions or whatever. So anyway, I think it's a near perfect movie. You probably agree, so I'm preaching to the choir. I just basically did this because it's a movie I watched recently. I haven't watched in years, and man, does it hold up. My next review is also going to be Starship Troopers, which is another movie from right around that time period that I would equate as a perfect film, so hang out for that podcast coming soon. I'm Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to a podcast. I'm glad you're a movie lover or a music lover or however you got to this podcast. Have a spectacular day.